If I, a chronic overpacker, can learn how to pack carry-on only for any length trip, so can you. I grew up as a pilot kid, which meant we flew standby growing up throughout my entire life, which also meant that we packed carry-on only for all of our trips. And as someone who personally, historically, is prone to overpacking, I know how us overpackers think. I know how your brain works. And today I'm going to show you what mistakes you may or may not be making and how to fix them so that you can pack carry-on only for all of your trips too. And feel good about it, which is the really important part. We're gonna dive right into it. So let's get started with mistake number one, choosing a carry-on piece of luggage that is too small. The first step to packing lighter and packing carry-on only is to choose a piece of luggage that suits your packing style. And if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you are prone to overpacking, which means you need a large carry-on luggage. This might sound a little contradictory because if you're trying to pack lighter and trying to pack carry-on only, you might also be thinking that you're trying to pack in a smaller suitcase. And while that's possible, I know as an overpacker that if you pick a suitcase that's too small for your packing style, then you might not be satisfied with what you're packing, and then you'll be tempted to check another piece of luggage, which is why I highly recommend choosing the largest carry-on possible. The standard limit for luggage currently is 22 by 14 by 9 inches or 56 by 36 by 23 centimeters. So this means that you want to pick a piece of luggage that maximizes those dimensions, fills those dimensions up. That way you can fit more in your carry-on and are less tempted to check another bag. My favorite carry-on currently is the base carry-on roller. I have mentioned this bag in a variety of my videos, so I won't go too much into detail here. I also have a full in-depth review of that suitcase coming out in a couple weeks, so subscribe if you're interested in that. That's the suitcase that I use as my carry-on for all of my trips. Mistake number two is choosing a small personal item bag. So like your carry-on, you want to choose the largest personal item possible too, so that you have extra room for cosmetics, clothes, shoes, whatever doesn't fit in your carry-on, you can put in your personal item. I don't know why a lot of people don't realize this, but your personal item isn't limited to like a purse or a briefcase or a small crossbody bag. While those are personal items, the majority of the time you can actually get away with a full large backpack or even a mini weekender bag as your personal item. As long as it fits underneath the airplane seat in front of you, it can pass as a personal item the majority of the time. Of course, there are some exceptions, so check with your airline and your destination. I learned this the hard way when we were traveling to Bora Bora and there was a super lightweight weight restriction of like 5 pounds or 10 pounds or something crazy, and I had my 40-pound camera gear backpack with me as my personal item. So we ended up having to like disperse all the camera gear among our bags last minute in the airport. It's kind of a mess. So we learned that the hard way. Definitely check with your airline and your destination. But the majority of the time you can get away with a full-size backpack or even a weekender bag as your personal item. My favorite personal item currently is the base mini weekender bag. It holds so much. Not only does it hold my flight essentials, but I also usually pack all of my cosmetics, hair care, skincare, makeup products in it, which frees up a lot of space in my carry-on suitcase. So that's what I'm going to be using for the foreseeable future for my personal item on every trip that I don't have to bring my large camera backpack, which also would qualify as my personal item. I'll link both of those personal item bags in the description. Mistake number three is probably the most common mistake that I see and my favorite to fix, and that is not writing out a physical packing list. If you do not have a packing list to keep you in check, you are way more prone to overpack and pack things that you don't actually need. With a packing list, you can visualize exactly how many outfits you need, what kind of outfits you need, how many of each clothing article you need to pack, if any outfits can be worn multiple times on your trip, and nothing more. I have a very specific way that I have found works wonders in my overpacking for creating a packing list, and that is the day-by-day method packing list. I actually made a free downloadable version of my day-by-day packing list that you can download totally free. It'll go straight to your email. I will add the link to this free download in the description. Highly recommend downloading it and using it for your next trips. I use it for every single trip that I go on, that I pack for. If you've watched my other packing videos, I've also called it the index card method because that's what I used before I created another packing list for it. I would just use an index card, but now I have a strategic packing list that I can print off for every trip that totally saves me from overpacking. So to go over exactly how I use this packing list a little bit, in the day-by-day method, you start your packing list by listing each date and/or weekday of your trip from travel day to travel day. Then next to each day, list the main itinerary spots and activities outfits planned for each corresponding day. For example, if you have a beach day or a hiking day or a certain excursion that you need a specific outfit for, I add that to the itinerary section of the packing list so that I can remember that when I'm picking out my outfits later. And this will enable you to visualize what types of outfits you'll need every day, i.e. fancy, casual, hiking, swimmer, etc. like I mentioned. Then I make note of the forecasted weather for every single day of the trip so that I can pack accordingly for the weather as well, because obviously if it's going to rain or snow, I'm going to need different clothing as opposed to like a sunny or a warm cloudy day. And then I also have a section for the temperature, because obviously sunny and 30 degrees Fahrenheit is much different than sunny and 95 degrees Fahrenheit. After I fill all of that out for my trip, which takes all of 5 minutes, maybe if that, then I write out how many days I'll be gone versus how many nights, so that I know exactly how many pairs of underwear, bras, pajamas that I need to pack, and nothing more. And if there's anything else I need to remember for my specific trip, for example, in Japan, they don't wear leggings without anything over them, so I made a note on my packing list not to pack leggings. Or if there are any other clothing items that you can or cannot wear, you can make a note of them at the bottom. Or if you're gonna be doing laundry, if you have any laundry days, which I'll give a super underrated tip about later, I'll make a note of how many laundry days so that I know like how many times I can rewear each outfit, etc. I'll just make a quick note at the bottom of my list so that I can keep that in the back of my mind when I'm picking out my outfits. I swear by this packing list. Without it, I am almost guaranteed to overpack. With it, I never pack more than I actually need and use on my trip, and I still feel satisfied and at peace with what I pack. There's no like, oh my gosh, what if I need this? Or oh my gosh, what if I want this? I don't have that feeling. I feel very satisfied with what I pack when I use the day-by-day method for packing. Again, I will add the link to download your free printable day-by-day packing list, this exact one, in the description, so that you can use it on all of your future trips. Mistake number 4 is not packing whole outfits. In addition to the day-by-day packing method, packing whole put together outfits will prevent you from packing anything unnecessary. It'll prevent you from packing clothes that don't match, that you won't actually wear, and that don't fit perfectly on you. More on that in the next mistake. So instead of thinking of your packing list of XYZ number of shirts, XYZ number of pants, etc., you're gonna wanna pack and make full outfits. And of course, designate one outfit for every day of your trip. Again, using that downloadable packing list will help you do this immensely. And by using that packing list and making whole outfits, you'll be able to physically visualize exactly which articles of clothing might be worn twice on your trip, especially pants, especially jeans that usually can be reworn. Plus, planning out a precise outfit will help you get ready on your trip each day a lot faster, which means you can enjoy your destination even longer. Mistake number 5 is not physically trying on those whole outfits before you pack them. Once you've planned out all of your outfits, I highly recommend physically trying them on to make sure that they fit well on you, that you like how they actually look on you, and that they feel good enough to walk around, travel around in, because that's what you're gonna be doing on your trip. Unless you've worn these exact outfits recently and know for a fact you love them on, definitely try them on. I know that it might sound like overkill and it takes a little extra time in your packing, but so worth it. Trust me, knowing that you love how an outfit looks on you and feels on you and fits comfortably on your body will keep you from packing all of those unnecessary items like I mentioned earlier. Instead, you'll be able to confidently pack and know exactly what you're gonna wear on your trip. Bye-bye overpacking. Mistake number 6 is not ditching the maybes and the what ifs. Now, this tip to pack lighter may sound obvious, but some of you overpackers need permission. Pointing at myself. I need permission to ditch the maybes and the what ifs. And by maybes and what ifs, of course I mean like the, oh, maybe I'll want to wear this instead, or oh, maybe it'll rain, so I'll need this jacket and this jacket instead, or what if I need this, or what if I want this? All of those maybes and what ifs, that's what I'm referring to. Like I said earlier, if you follow the aforementioned steps and fill out that day-by-day method packing list, checking the forecast before your trip, checking the temperature, packing whole outfits, trying on those outfits before packing, ditching those maybes and what ifs is gonna be a lot easier and you'll have a lot more peace of mind about it. However, if you are still tempted to bring those maybes and what ifs, just remember that worst case scenario, you can probably buy whatever you need in your destination. The vast majority of destinations have stores where you could buy something if you need it. If you didn't pack one of those maybes or what ifs and you end up needing it, you can probably buy it. And this is probably cheaper than checking a bag, so it's usually worth it. And rarely does that happen anyway. Rarely do you need something that you didn't pack when you follow this packing list, when you follow these steps and need to buy it. Just know, worst case, you can probably buy it when you get there. Mistake number 7, at least I think we're on mistake number 7, is using packing cubes incorrectly. Most people are using packing cubes wrong. Most people use packing cubes assuming that they allow you to pack more. And while this can be true, I guess, with some compression packing cubes, this is dangerous for us overpackers. So as a personally tempted overpacker, using packing cubes with the goal of packing more in mind is only going to enable me to pack more. Shocker. Instead, the goal of packing cubes for us overpackers should be to stay organized throughout our trips. After you've planned out all of your trip outfits, you need to stay organized. You want to remember which outfits you planned. Also, using packing cubes to stay organized will keep your suitcase tidy, and it makes it so easy to pack, unpack in your hotel, repack for departure, and then unpack at home. So much easier. I suggest packing your packing cubes by outfit rather than clothing article type, stacking the outfits that you're gonna wear first on your trip on the top so they're really easily accessible. I always put socks and underwear and bras in a separate packing cube entirely so that they're nice and tidy and separate, just in case my suitcase nightmarishly opens on baggage claim. All of my unmentionables are cleanly stowed on the baggage claim conveyor belt. Embarrassment crisis averted. I use the base packing cubes and love them. Mistake number 8 is not doing laundry on your trip. Now, as an introvert, I know this is gonna make us panic a little bit. Us introverts, we don't wanna have to find a laundromat. So if you're an introvert like me, maybe finding laundromats in a foreign destination is not your jam, and that is okay. There are still a couple ways to do your laundry safely and anxiety-free on your trip. Many hotels have coin washers and dryers, so that's a super easy way that you can do laundry. Check with the hotel that you're staying at. On their website, they should say if they have laundry available. Or even better, my preferred method for doing laundry on trips is using the Scrubba portable washing machine. Scrubba gifted me their portable washing machine a few years ago, and it has really come in handy, especially on the trips where I was gone for a month or more with limited luggage. All you have to do is fill your Scrubba with your dirty laundry, fill it up with water in the shower, warm water, put your detergent in. I'll link the detergent that I use that I really like, Molly Suds. It's non-toxic, acne safe, and also it's a powder form, so it doesn't count as one of your liquids when you're traveling carry-on only. And then you shake it. You basically shake and aggravate the portable washing machine. You shake it, aggravate your laundry, and you will be shocked, stunned, speechless at how much dirt comes out of your clothes from this handheld portable washing machine. So yeah, highly recommend the Scrubba. The next mistake I see a lot of travelers make is packing too many cosmetics. And by too many, I mean simply taking your cosmetic bag from home as is and plopping into your suitcase, because I can almost guarantee that you probably will not use all of those cosmetics on your trip. Like clothing, you should ditch those unnecessary cosmetic items as well, because cosmetic bottles and products are bulky and will take up more space than you think. So you should only pack cosmetics that you will use, absolutely 100% use daily on your trip. For example, sometimes I skip bringing conditioner on trips because, let's be honest, our hair would probably survive a week without. Or better yet, if you're not picky about the products that you're using in your hair and face, you could just stick with the free products that are in the hotel room. I'm personally picky about the ingredients, so I like packing all of my own cosmetics, but I will skip anything that I will not use daily. And to minimize my cosmetics even more, I will do all of my weekly/bi-weekly cosmetic maintenance routines like hair removal, teeth whitening, self-tanning, nail polish, etc. I will do them all the night before my trip so that I don't have to pack any of those things for my trip. Next mistake, too many shoes. You do not need more than 2 pairs of shoes maximum on your trips. And I know what you're thinking, but I have a fancy dinner. But what about for the pool? But what about for days out when I'm walking a lot and I need comfortable walking shoes? And what about my hiking boots? I know, I get it, but I can almost guarantee you that you can find shoes that can be doubled as fancy shoes, that can be doubled as waterproof pool shoes, that can be comfortable walking shoes. in one shoe. So my rule of thumb is to pack no more than 2 pairs of shoes maximum, and one of those shoes I'm gonna be wearing on the plane. I'll talk about that in the next mistake. And I am only packing shoes that are comfortable, versatile, and match with a variety of outfits that I am packing. If a pair of shoes does not check off all 3 of those checklist items, I do not pack them. I almost always only pack my neutral colored tennis shoes that match a variety of outfits, or my hiking boots if it's a hiking trip, and a pair of sandals that are waterproof and look nice still, so that I can wear them with a dress on a fancy dinner night. I can wear them to the pool because they're waterproof, or to the beach because they're waterproof, and I can wear them out walking if they're comfortable for walking into. I do have a blog post with all of those versatile, waterproof, cute shoes that aren't ugly water shoes. I do have a blog post with all of the ones that I recommend that I'll link down below if you need a good pair of versatile travel shoes. And bonus tip, always pack your shoes towards the wheel end of your suitcase when you're packing your suitcase, so that when you stand your suitcase upright to roll it, your shoes, your big shoes, aren't crushing anything else in your bag. The next mistake, therefore, is not wearing your bulkiest shoes on the plane. You should wear your bulkiest shoes on the plane so that you do not need to pack them, because they can take up a lot of space. Tennis shoes, hiking boots, those take up a lot of suitcase space, like up to a quarter of your entire suitcase, which is a lot of space. And yes, I know that bulky shoes are not always the most comfortable on long flights, or historically, they've kind of been a hassle in airport security when you had to take your shoes off going through security. Untying, retying, I know it's a little bit of a hassle, but it is worth it for the amount of suitcase space that you save. So as clunky as wearing tennis shoes or hiking boots through the airport feels, I always do it. And the final mistake that you might be making as an overpacker is not saving your jackets and coats for last when you're packing. Saving your bulky coats and jackets for last can save you a lot of space. And worst case scenario, if you're out of suitcase space when you have everything else packed, you can wear your coat or carry it through the airport. You can still bring it. Worst case scenario, you can still bring it. Again, is that ideal? Not always, but you can still bring it worst case. You just have to wear it or carry it through the airport. And quite frankly, sometimes I find that having a coat on a plane is actually pretty nice, because the majority of flights are chilly. So having a coat is nice sometimes. And best case scenario, you can pack it last if you still have space right on top of your packing cubes. You could also try using vacuum seal travel bags as well if you're going to a wintry destination where you need a lot of coats, you need a lot of layers. You could try using vacuum seal travel bags too to pack those bulky coats and jackets down flatter. But basically, this tip to pack lighter is the same principle as wearing your bulkiest shoes on the plane. Essentially, avoid packing your bulkiest items first. Those are some of the biggest mistakes that I see packers make that keep them from packing carry-on only, that are the reason why they fail to pack carry-on only. And these tips are helpful for any length trip. If you liked these tips, there are a few bonus tips to pack lighter in the blog post version of this video. So I'll link the blog post in the description if you want to check out those few bonus tips. And don't forget to download my free printable day-by-day method packing list. If you want to hear more tips, check out this video next, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!